Hello YouTube, I'm Dramaticus, and this is my 5th installment of my series Thursday, and I really do apologize first off for not having posted this when I should have on Thursday, nor did I post it yesterday when I said I would. Just a lot of things got in the way, stuff came up, and all that wonderful jazz. So I do apologize profusely for that, but I should be back on track this week. So yes, I'm going to be doing today's episode on a Chinese deity and mythology there by the name of Erlang. So I do hope that you enjoy this, and yeah, stay tuned as well for all the rest of my videos this week. Hope you enjoy. So the name of Erlang has gone through a lot of different variations over the years. Now, not really his given name, Erlang, rather his family name or other titles. Now, the reason for this is because of the fact that a lot of people over the years who came in power or were revered in some way or another wanted to have Erlang associated with them, or those who revered him wanted to have Erlang associated with him. So his name went through several changes, the most notable of which was the name of Li. And in this case, it was a very particularly Li Bing. And Li Bing was a very well-known, well-renowned engineer who did quite an amazing feat of engineering at the time for the creation of a very particular irrigation system, which I will go over a little bit later. But yes, such an example illustrates how his name has changed, and he's also gone through honorary titles such as Erlang Shen, Shen being basically a reference to his godhood. Now, just as a note here, I would like to say that I did do a little bit of research on various web pages and whatnot, but I did come across a very particularly interesting piece of work, which I am drawing a bit from, by Carmelita Hinton, and I do believe it was called In Search of Erlang. Yes, In Search of Erlang is the name of her work, and I will be providing a link for it below if you do wish to afterwards take a look at it for yourself. It's a pretty neat read. It's all about his name. But yes, this is definitely one of the more distinguishing features of Erlang, is that throughout the ages he has gone through quite the change of his last name, depending on whoever was in power or who was revered at that time. So do keep that in mind. Whenever I do discuss gods or deities of various cultures and whatnot, they do sometimes go through transformations depending on who's in power. It's usually the way of things. The depictions of Erlang vary depending on where you look, as far as his physicality goes. Sometimes he's depicted as a fatter man, sometimes as a thinner man. Other times with a bit more musculature, sometimes with a smaller musculature. It really depends on the source. But there are three things that can be agreed upon. One, that he has a third eye. Now, this third eye is pretty much right here, center of his forehead. Now, this eye has been said to be able to tell the truth of things, basically cut through lies and see what is real. That's pretty much the main part of it. Now, there has been one or two accounts that I have read which claim that he can shoot basically a laser beam out of his third eye. Honestly, I don't know how much faith I put in that, but, you know. The second thing is his three-pointed lance. Now, the three-pointed lance is a pretty wicked-looking weapon. It's also not just three-pointed, but it's double-edged. So you have the lance, and then it comes out, and then it goes up. It's really stabby and slicey and hurty. And the third thing that you see more often than not with him is Xiaotian Quan, his howling celestial dog. So it's pretty much it pretty much looks the same throughout most depictions. Just a standard-looking hound sort of dog, a little bit thinner. But yeah, those are the three things that are most often associated with Erlang. as his physicality does vary depending on where you look. Although Erlang is not exactly a patron deity of any particular region or city, we can trace his origins back to the Sichuan province near Chengdu. The reason for this is his association with Li Bing. As discussed before, Li Bing was the engineer behind a very particular irrigation system. Now, that irrigation system was the Dujiangyan irrigation system, which ran on the Minjiang River, and that river is right near Chengdu. So we can pretty much guess by that, at the very least, that he is associated with that region right outside of Chengdu. When it comes down to symbols for Erlang, there's not really very much representative of him as far as any sort of holy symbols or anything like that are concerned. Now, in the case of any kind of symbol that you could reach for, really I would go towards his iconography. As mentioned in the depiction section, he does have 3 very distinct items that are associated with him, those being his hound, his third eye, and his 3-bladed lance. And that would be about as close as you could get to any real symbols for Erlang. Though not explicitly listed anywhere that I could really find, Erlang is definitely associated with heroes as well as protection from evil. Now, the reason for that I will take a look into in the mythos section. As well, he could potentially be associated with honesty or truth due to the fact that his third eye allows him to see the truth and force it out, sort of thing. One other possibility for a domain, again, not explicitly listed, but could possibly be something along the lines of either invention or maybe water, depending on which way you want to take it, due to his association, again, with Li Bing and the irrigation system that, depending on which story you're looking at, helped Li Bing to develop or inspired him to develop. Where many deities will have festivals in their honor, feasts, various celebrations, temples erected, statues built, there's not very much that I was able to find on Erlang. In his case, there was only one instance of worship that I was actually able to find, and that comes from the stories of Journey to the West. Now, in this instance, Erlang is worshipped by burning incense in a temple in Guangkou, and Guangkou is actually not too far off from Chengdu. So really, whether or not it happened is up for debate, because of the fact that it was done in a story, which is based on legend and mythos, not necessarily set in reality, although some believe that it is derived from it. Whether or not it actually happened is not really entirely certain. So, if Erlang did get worshipped in this way, then that's about the only way that we know of. If not, and there were other methods, then they were probably lost in the annals of history. Although Erlang's myths do have a bit of a checkered history with political involvement, as well as people who are revered getting themselves associated with him, his history is still fairly interesting, especially 2, in particular, myths that I was able to find. One was that rather than simply building an irrigation system, Li Bing, with the help of Erlang, actually battled a river god and built up the irrigation system thereafter. So, I mean, that's just really awesome. And the second is where Erlang is traveling through the mountains and comes across an old woman who is weeping and finds out that her son has been taken by a dragon and will be eaten tomorrow. So Erlang travels up the mountainside, chains in hand, and ends up chaining the dragon to the mountain itself. I mean, that's really neat. So from that, you can actually see why he would get the hero and the protector from evil domains, because of his great feats of courageous acts and whatnot, defeating dragons and all that good stuff. So anyway, I do hope that you like this look at Erlang, brief though it may have been, but do check out the link below for more information on him if you want, and stay tuned for my other shows this week. Thank you.